We have two types of internal reviewers. One is actually called an internal reviewer, and the other one is what we're calling a full reviewer. The difference is that an internal reviewer can only be in this phase or stage. So start working a draft RFI and internal review, push it for internal review, and cancel it at this time. So they can only work in this space. They could distribute an official response if the response was internal. So if it was resolved internally, then they can distribute that official response. And usually think of maybe, you have a co-op on your project and you want them working with RFIs, but you don't want them actually, submitting an RFI to an external party or for external review, but you still want them to be able to start one, work and draft, and maybe respond if it's resolved internally. Okay. Other than that, a full reviewer, this is someone internally at Elliston that can start and close the RFI. Once the internal reviewer, or think of a co-op, pushes it to submit for external review, it's now with the full reviewer. And then the full reviewer takes that on, and they're the only ones that can request an answer from an external party, like a primary consultant or architect, right? And then so they can push it out to an external reviewer, which in RFI module we call an assignee. So an external party is an assignee. And the full reviewer will log, the answers, can distribute partial responses, can also cancel the RFI at this stage, and can also obviously distribute official response. At the issued stage, it's not fully closed, so it still allows you, if there's any follow-ups before actually closing it, it allows you to do that at this stage before closing it out. Now, to access the request for information module, you're going to come over to document control and you'll see RFI here. Okay, and this is the home screen or the landing page. Let me just minimize that there. You'll notice at the top that there are some status tiles. So if I were to click on one, for example, if I want to see what's in internal review only, I can click on that tile and then it will display it here. I can use multiple tiles to filter. Maybe I want to see internal and external review. I could do that as well. And I can take it a step further with this grouping bar, so I can add additional filters. So maybe I want to see what's in review at both stages, but with what reviewer as an example, right? And these are all the reviewers, and I can further filter. Okay, let me just undo this. I'm actually going to go to the live because I notice I'm missing some icons. And let's see if this works in here. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. So just, you can see here right now, I don't have this table preferences in my training environment. So that relates to the view, right? Like these status tiles, the grouping bar, all these different columns and how you want it sorted or displayed. So let me pull this one up. And you'll see here, I can hide the status tiles, which are these here. Oh, and that's why they're not appearing. There we go. In these table preferences, I can hide the status tiles. So if I do that, it'll remove that. And if I want to hide this grouping bar, I can do that as well. It just allows for more real estate on your screen. Just keep in mind, if you are going to hide them, make sure you don't have any filters set. Because if you do, and then you decide to hide them, you may start wanting to search for something and you won't be able to locate it because those filters are set. And so just make sure you don't have them turned on. Okay. In addition to that, these are all the table columns available. So you can check, uncheck what you want to see The system will remember that next time you sign in. You can also drag and drop these. Okay, you can move them around to whatever suits your needs. You also have all these inline filters. You can search here as well for an RFI. Under due date, you'll notice that you get this pop-up, so you can specify dates, or maybe you just want to see what's overdue. You can do that as well. Same for days in review. So maybe something equal or less than, greater than, I don't know, 5 days as an example. You can do that as well. You'll see the priority. So you'll notice that the priority is color coded. And basically, high is associated to the least number of days, where green low is associated to the highest number of days. And then in between, that orange is just your middle, right? Regular amount of days. You'll see here reason. So you can select, depending what's been populated here, initiator number if there is, initiated by. You can also have the status displayed, RFI reviewer, who is the Ellis Don RFI reviewer, and who is that external party, who's that primary assignee. It will be listed here. In addition to that, there is a tutorial. So if I clicked here on status tiles, this will get highlighted and give you an explanation. Inline filters, same idea, so on and so forth. You can turn this on if you want it on all the time. So if I were to hover over any of these, that will pop up. If you don't want that, it is turned off by default, but you can turn that off and just come in here and click. Okay. The other thing that I'm not seeing here is the audit log. So we do have this in the GT04 help, a user access and permissions table, but here in the new user interfaces, we have this audit log. Let's see if that's going to pull up for me. So basically it will let you know what roles can do what in the RFI. And if that doesn't pull up, I have it here. Okay, so this is from the help pages. It will tell you, so basically a project coordinator, an APM, a PMCM can start and finish an RFI, okay? Can manage, so, you know, some can't manage the internal review or the external review or modify settings. That's where these roles can do it all. They are considered admins for RFIs. Okay. There is an export. So basically it just takes this view into an Excel file. Just keep in mind that if you do have filters set, so let's say I select external review, and then I decide to click export, only those are going to appear. Okay. The first thing you want to look at is the RFI settings. Get familiar with them. So let's go in there. And you'll see there's 2 types of settings, general settings and permissions. We're going to look at the general settings first. I'm going to put it in edit mode. Part of the general settings is the RFI prefix, and it tells you here, prefixes are used to categorize RFIs and will precede the RFI number. Once a prefix has been used on a document, it can only be deactivated and cannot be edited or deleted. So if it has been used, you will not see a trash bin icon. Okay, so you can see these haven't been used. So I could delete these at this point. Okay, now if they have been used and you want to disable or deactivate it, and what that does is when you go to create an RFI and you click on the field for RFI prefix, there's a drop down. Just means that whatever prefix you deactivate in the settings will not appear in that dropdown. Okay, so when we go to create one here, you'll notice that the CCN tracker will not appear in that document when we're creating it. Okay, I will leave this as is. And this, when you check default, this just means that this will be the first prefix option in that dropdown. Defaulted to this one. And to add, you can add multiple. You would just click add prefix and just populate this. I'm just going to delete that for now. Okay, let's move on to custom labels. These are optional. So custom labels work well for tagging and filtering RFIs across a project. Teams, they can use them to add quick context that is not part of the standard RFI fields. So, maybe you want to use it for project phases, or maybe discipline or trade, the impact type, urgency, the origin of issue. And right now, we don't have linkage of RFIs. So Jonathan, maybe you're familiar that we were able to create a linked RFI. They are looking into adding that to the new user interface. However, at this time, it is not available. So, you could, for example, let's just open this. I'm going to put in related RFI. I'm not going to click required. So it makes this field required where I have to pick something. And I'm not going to add any values here because I want to be able to add a value on ad hoc in the document in this situation regarding related RFIs. So maybe I could put, related to RFI so-and-so. Now I'll create another one so you can see what I'm talking about, but for the related RFIs, we'll leave it as this. I'll put single. I'm not going to put required, and I'm not going to limit to preset values. So if I had clicked limit, I'd have to type some values here. And so when I'm creating the RFI under custom labels, I'd have to select what's here. I wouldn't be able to create anything on ad hoc. So I don't want that turned on right now. Okay. You can always edit these. Like in this case, for example, let me just click edit here. I added phases and I put that this is required in the RFI document. And I added a few different values, right? A few different phases. And I'm allowing, on the project for us to be able to select more than one. So I've selected multi. But I'm also not limiting it to the preset values, to these values. I will allow it for others to be able to add on ad hoc, the project team to add. All right, so I'm going to cancel it out. I'll leave these two here, and then right from the settings, like I had this one set to required. When I click edit, you'll see. So I don't have to go click edit to remove this. I can just do it from this view. Okay. So that is the general settings. Let's move on to the permissions. So again, here you have a sentence here that says RFI reviewers are responsible for the management of RFIs. RFI reviewers flagged with internal only can only manage RFIs up to the internal review stage and cannot submit RFIs to external parties. Okay, so I'm going to put this in edit mode. And you'll notice here that, okay, I have a few names here, and I have one set to internal only, and I have one deactivated as well. So these I can't remove. I've used them already, so I can't delete them. I can deactivate them. So again, just similar to the general settings, the prefix, when I go to create that RFI document under RFI reviewers, I'm not going to see Mustafa there. And Catherine is an internal only reviewer. So if you hover over this tooltip, internal only RFI reviewers can only manage RFIs up to the internal review stage. Okay. So again, if you have maybe a co-op student, maybe you want them working with RFIs, but only in the internal stage, you would come in here and check this box. And then if it's not, obviously if it's not checked with internal only, these people are considered full reviewers, Elliston reviewers. And one thing to note is when we are sending out a request for an answer to an external party, they are not responding via Gate 3. They typically respond via email, and then whoever is responsible or overseeing the RFIs is taking that response and logging it in Gate 3 on their behalf. And you can add additional reviewers just by clicking add reviewer. I think you have to have 2 or 3 letters for it to start auto-populating. Okay, so to add this person, I could do that. All right, so that's how you add reviewers. Now, let's say that you're trying to add a reviewer and the name does not appear. You want to go to companies and contacts. First of all, make sure that that employee is linked to the right Elliston company. And then you want to link them to your project. Okay, and make sure they're also in team management where you're adding your project staff. So, for example, I'm not going to leave this view, but you would come into companies and contacts, check their information, and then from here you could add them to your project if they're not already, but you also want to make sure that they're added to team management. Okay, and then once you come in here, you should be able to locate their name. And go ahead and save this and minimize this. And let's go now back out and let's go ahead and create one. So create. So we're just creating, it's right now, it's in draft. Okay, so here is that prefix, right? Sequential numbers will be generated. So if this was your first one, RFI-00001, then the next one you create will end in a 2 and then 3, and it's sequential. Okay. So this is the one that pulls up by default because in the settings, we checked that prefix as our default. Okay. And if you recall, I mentioned that CCN RFI prefix was deactivated. And so therefore you will not see it in this dropdown. Okay. All right. Now let's start. So let's put request details. So anything with an asterisk is required. Okay, and let's start populating some information here. So reason, that is also required. Reason the RFI is being submitted. So you'll see tooltips throughout. Just gonna put design clarification, priority. So you can change that priority. I'll just put high for now. And target close date. So if you hover, it'll say date by which the RFI must be finalized and distributed. So this is the date that you want everything received, resolved, and yeah, distributed, because you'll see there's another date. So this is the where everything has been completed. So let's aim for, what's today, the 11th. I'm going to say the 18th as an example. You also want to provide a recommended solution. So let me just add some information in here. And initiator, so the party that raised the RFI. Okay, so let's see if I have John. And if they provided an RFI number, so the party submitting the question, you can add it here. It's not a mandatory field. And then the discipline, whatever that is, I'll just select this. If there's some specifications, you would add it here. Don't have anything. Files can be deleted at any time up until the RFI is saved as a draft or distributed. After either action, files cannot be deleted due to traceability requirements. Okay. So you can drag and drop, or you can browse a document and then just pull it. Just pull in a document, and you can add multiple. There is an impact section. So by default, it is turned on. You can turn it off. However, if there is a cost impact, you want to add that. You can't leave this at 0. There needs to be a minimum value. So I'll just put, you know, I don't know, 100 to 2,000. And again, same with schedule impact. This cannot stay at 0. You need to add something. So I'll put 1 to 2 days. right? It says days impacted. Or it could be 1 to 1. And this is where you'll find your labels, the custom labels we were looking at in the settings. And so let's, hopefully the one I want pulls up. And of course it doesn't because it's not required. So let me save this as draft. If I know there's a related RFI, I could put as a workaround for now, related to RFI 000262 as an example. Okay, so at least you can come in here and take a look. So until they work on that, this is the workaround. Okay, so we are now ready to submit for internal review. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and when I do that, I am going to get this pop-up and it says select who will manage this RFI. So now you're selecting the full reviewer, where that student is selecting the full reviewer to continue. I'll just put myself and submit. Let's give it a second. So now it is with me, the full reviewer. Obviously, I started this, which I could, but you know, if it was someone else, they would push it to an internal review. All right, you'll notice there's some actions here. So at this point, you can edit the RFI, you can print, you can cancel, okay? So what I want to do at this point is just kind of review all of this information, make sure it looks good. Any attachments will appear here. If I added the impact, it will appear here. If I added some labels, and of course I don't have responses yet, but it would be listed here. And when it gets sent out for final distribution, the information will be listed here. Okay, if I had to edit anything, I would come to the actions and click edit RFI. But in this case, we're going to push it forward and we're going to submit for external review.
Just one quick question regarding the attachments. So you said that once saved as a draft, you can no longer edit the attachment that you had originally attached. Is that correct?
Sorry, say that again. If you saved it as draft.
So you added originally when you were creating your RFI, you attached a document to the RFI and you said as soon as you save it as a draft, you can no longer remove that attachment. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me just go back because I find the messaging's a little, give me 1 second.
Yeah, just because I know when I'm doing an RFI and I have like a markup or something, I'll attach it once, realize, oh, I forgot to cloud or highlight something in a plan. I'll remove it and re-update the attachment.
So let me just go in there. So I noticed that's something they just recently added. So let's take a quick look. Yeah, so files can be deleted at any time up until the RFI is saved as a draft or distributed. Yeah, so if I were to fill this out and just leave it, it's fine. But as soon as I click save as draft, files cannot be deleted. So I guess any action, so this is fairly new, this message here. So what I'll do, let me do this, like edit. And let's see if I can remove this. I can't. So I think as soon as, I can double check, but I'm pretty sure as soon as you click save as draft, you can't delete it.
Okay, that's worth noting because I know a lot of people on my project team anyway, kind of, we're working on several things at a time. So we'll sometimes save RFI as a draft to just leave it, go confirm something, and then reopen it. And oftentimes you're changing those documents or revising things. So I guess you just have to make sure that you're aware that you can no longer delete an attachment once it's drafted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me just check something here because I want to see the one that I was working with. I didn't have a due date. So this is the one I'm working through. Okay. I'll double check on that though, Jonathan, just to make sure. Because this is fairly new interface, and so they are constantly making some fixes or changes. So I'll double check. And let me just, okay, so let's continue here. I'm going to cancel this, go back to submit for external review. You're going to get this pop up. Select who will respond to this RFI. So this is where you're selecting, the primary consultant or architect, the external party. So this is the other date I was talking about. So response to due date, the date by which you expect the assignee to provide the response. So this is pulling in the target close date that I added in the beginning. But I can change this because this is the date I want that consultant to respond by. So let's say maybe by 16th as an example. And then here, primary assignee. So this is where you're selecting your consultant. Only one primary reviewer can be selected. So let's see who I've got in this. If I even have a consultant set up here. Just looking. Okay, I'll just use Kyle. Pretend he's a consultant. And then secondary assignees, you may select up to 49 recipients. So say you've got, I don't know, there's a bunch of people that you want to keep in the loop, but maybe you don't want to go through 20 people, right? To select 20 people. What you can do is if they're all part of the same company. So let me just put Ellis Dawn here as an example. It's just much easier. And then all the people that you want that are part of the Ellis Dawn team, you can select, or what was the other company? Tropic Air. If you had more than 3 contacts for this company, they would all appear here. And if those are the 3 contacts you want, you would select all of them. And then I'll add myself again. There we go. Okay. So now what happens is an email will get sent out from GT04 to this primary assignee. Okay, so in this case to Kyle. So I'm going to go ahead and submit. And basically we're giving them till March 16th to respond. Okay. So after I did that, you'll see I still have an actions column. At this point, in the external review stage, so I've sent it out, I can create a new version if I need to. They are looking at being able to create a new version at different stages, but currently it's only in this stage. Okay, I think that will change in the near future. So if I were to create a new version, automatically, if there was more than one version, you have this drop down available and it will show you all the versions and you can switch between them very easily. So it'll tell you it's version 2.0, version 3.0, and you can use this drop down. Okay. But for now, what we're going to do, we've requested an answer from this, let's say this is the external party, the primary assignee. So I can expand this. And it says pending response. Okay, and then you'll see any others that I sent it to are listed here as well. And they can also provide responses as well. Sometimes, it needs to go to a secondary, maybe a mechanical or electrical consultant, subconsultant. So when we do get the responses, usually by email, we're going to come into the RFI under responses, and then we're going to add their response by clicking add response. And then, response date, maybe they responded, we'll put, I don't know, change date. You can do that. And then response content. So let's just add something here. Here, let me just, so we don't take up too much time. Okay, and then you can add an attachment or backup, of course, and just make sure you click Save Response. Okay, and you can add multiple responses. So maybe I got another one. And we can add it here. And I'm just going to add any attachment for this. And save. Okay. And let me just expand this. And it's in a nice order. So it's very clear, right? The date, when the response came in, and when, what's logged, and if there's attachments. And you can also request a revision. So you could do that. You'd click this, reason for revision. Let's just put incomplete answer. Give me a second. Okay, and then revision comments, and then request revision. You could do that too. Okay. Revision requested. Okay, and then let's say the response came in. I'll leave the date and then save response. And so you can see the log here. Okay, and then you would do the exact same if you got responses from these secondaries. Okay, we've logged the responses. Let's say that we're good, everything's finalized, everything's clear, we got what answer we needed, and now we're ready to distribute the response. We're going to come over to distributions. Okay, and then what am I missing here? Right here, this should highlight. Okay, let me enter a comment, and that should highlight that distribute button. So you have to enter the response here. You can add, of course, the attachments that you need to. And then right here, you have the option to distribute partial response if you need to. So you can continue moving or distribute official response. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. You need a pop-up, choose who should receive this RFI distribution. You may select up to 50 recipients. So I definitely want to send it out to the initiator, John Legend. Well, she's not going to appear now. Okay, that's fine. I will just, oh, I got a consultant now. Okay, I'll just pick something here. And again, you can select up to 50 recipients and then distribute. Just give that a second. Don't worry about that. That's just the environment I'm in. Okay, so it says issued. So let's come back here. So we started draft, pushed it to internal review, then it went to the full reviewer to submit for external review. We logged the answers, distributed the official response. So now the status is issued. So at this point, it allows you can still cancel the RFI at this point if you need to. Yeah, and otherwise you can go ahead and close it. Okay, because with the old RFIs, as soon as you put in the final distribution, like issued, it would close it. So you couldn't do anything about it. So this is just, a parking spot. So if anything needs to be followed up on, you can keep it in an issued state until you're actually ready to close it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then mark this RFI as closed. So this field's optional. This is just some formatting options. So closed, as an example. Let's see if this works in my training environment. It does, perfect. And close. Give it a second. Okay, now I'm gonna go back out to the main view, and I wanna look for that RFI by number. Okay, so there it is. There was no initiator number was initiated by John Legend. This is the discipline I had added, the request, the title, the RFI number. Don't have any of this. So days in review, really, we did this all within this hour. I did set it to high priority. You can see the status is closed, and this was the primary assignee from this company. Okay, so a lot of information in this main view. If you are new to working with RFIs in the new user interface, we do have the help pages. So just remember, it's accessible by clicking on this question mark symbol and going over to Gate 3 Help. And then on the left-hand side of that document, just navigate over to Request for Information, and then you can expand this and see all the different pages here. So I'm just going to cover some changes between the old interface and new interface. If you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to. Other than that, have a wonderful afternoon. So you worked with the old module, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so have you been working with the new one?
No, actually, I was just kind of messing around with Gate 3 a little bit as you were going through your training, and for some reason, my access to the new RFI module hasn't been given yet. So I have no problem navigating the old Gate 3 RFI module, but the new one is not actually letting me in.
So what's your project
I
number?
70756.
Okay, so let me see if you're one of the projects that remained 70756. Okay,
Yeah,
so you're
he
still
is.
using the old one. So this
Okay.
whole new interface is not applicable to your project.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that
so
makes that that's understandable then. I mean, I joined the training because I wanted to just get ahead of it for, if I change projects or
absolutely.
something and they're using the new module, I didn't want to be like kind of hit from nowhere with it. So I'm still getting all the information I was hoping to get out of the training for sure.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Of course, you're welcome to join any of the webinars, but there's no point wasting your time. So if you come into this Gate 3 help page, right here is a list of projects that remain on the legacy module.
Okay.
And yours is on there.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and that's it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem, Jonathan. Take care.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.